See, most people think, they say, well, oh, you play the piano and they do this kind of stuff. You got to start wiggling your butt and moving your feet. Oh, yeah, I play the piano. See, right below the navel is your spot. And so what we have to do, we have to get in the body. You can't get in the body with the fingers. If you use the fingers, they can't get to the body. Plus the fingers can't get you over the piano by themselves. Now there's 5 notes. 5 notes on the piano. And I say, those 5 notes were played and I didn't move a finger. You see that? Now, who's going to be the greatest pianist? The one who can do 5 notes with 1 move, or the one who does 5 notes with 5 moves? See? So it's going to be the cat who knows how to get from this point to this point. And see, this is, that's not, you got to be able to do this stuff. That's why I run. You hear Art Tatum play a run and make you take your breath away sometimes. I wrote one for Duke Ellington.
I always call him in the voice Professor Bob. He is the key one of the key conservators of that music.
He has that wisdom where he doesn't want to change the music. He doesn't say, well, I'm supposed to play something different because Bud Powell played that song 40 years ago. He reaches deeper and deeper into the music.
I think that Barry's legacy is really understanding the bebop language and really assimilating that and being fluent so that, like when we speak in English, we don't have to think about it. We say what we have to say. We know the words, and he knows his stuff backwards and forwards.
He never copped out. He never tried to be anything else. He never tried to make it more commercial. He doesn't have a meretricious bone in his body. He remained true to Bud, to Monk, to all the players that he really loved. He found his own way of playing it, but he played their tunes, and he played in that general style. And he kept it when nobody wanted to hear it, like in the late 60s. He kept it through the avant-garde, and eventually the audience came back to him.
You ready? On drums, Leroy Williams. On bass fiddle, Earl May. Piano, Barry Harris. Thank you. Is Lorraine here tonight? No. Oh, good. I didn't. Don't tell her I didn't name the tunes. Oh boy. I don't have to play Sweet Lorraine tonight. I'd be trying to butter her up so I can get the gig more often. I miss her though. We're gonna play a tune. A tune.
lot of people don't realize he started it like in the late 50s. You know, he devoted time to teaching, and he created an institute, and he's had all kinds of students, vocal students and piano students, and people who can play any instrument could come to him and learn something about the feeling, the expressiveness, the emotion, the style, the individuality of what jazz is.
I heard about Barry in Israel, and I came straight to New York to study with him. And I remember, it was 1985, and he was at the Jazz Culture Theater on 8th Avenue. And I remember the first time, I mean, I worked for a year to save the money to get there, and, you know, and left my family and, you know, parents and brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces. And I came over there, and I was expecting, you know, and now here's the Wizard of Oz, you know, I mean, you know, so big. And here's this warm, wonderful person, you know, just sitting there, giving me a big hello, shaking my hand. And it was like I came home.
Barry started the Jazz Cultural Theater, as far as I know, out of his need to have a place to teach.
It was finally him making his own space, or was able to acquire his own space and run it the way he wanted to run it. It was an interesting environment.
It was a marvelous place. It had a certain aura that transcended the commerciality of the usual club. It was a storefront, and in essence it was a club because it had a band area, and it had tables and chairs, and the audience sat there as they would in a club, but it was a community and a camaraderie.
Oh, I mean, you walk in there, you feel like, you know, it's not like a club, it's just like a home. You know, you come in to visit your aunt, you know. You come, there's food, there's drinks, there's friends, people that you never met before. When you're over there, you suddenly became a family. You know, he has that magic.
And there was nothing like it at the time.
Every summer, Jazz in Action would have a little grant money, and we'd go teach a class. I'll never forget, one day I was in the off-track betting place. I went in there and I started playing the horses. And at 7 o'clock, I remembered I was supposed to be teaching my class at 4 o'clock. And I said, oh my God, what have I done? I don't know why. I went and hopped in a cab and went to the place. I said, this is ridiculous. I don't know why I'm going. I done messed up. When I got there, everybody was there waiting on me from 4 o'clock. So, do, si, la, si, do, so, fa, mi, re, do. I never had this happen before. All these people waiting on me for 3 hours, you know? I said, I tell you what we're going to do. The money is running out for inaction, so what we're going to do, I'm going to have to keep the class going. All we got to do is just pay the rent where we're going to be. So everybody bring a couple of dollars and we'll be able to pay the rent.
Never let me go. Love me when's too much. If you let me go, life will lose its eyes.
Good, that was better. You good? You could hurt me. 3. Just stay with it. Stay with it. Okay.
One of the things about Barry that's interesting is that no matter who you are, if you want to learn, he will teach you.
Any level, anybody can walk in.
You know, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. Barry has something for you.
Barry is a second father to me.
And he's a very special person. He has a great message for the people.
He's great, great piano player. Yeah, and a great personality. Yeah.
I think he's the most important person in my life, other than my own family.
He's taught thousands of people all over the world. He has students in Holland, in Israel, in Japan, in Spain. He's touched so many lives with his teaching.
He has a way of making music clear to you, and also making you feel like it's possible for you to play, and possible for you to sing.
You know, everybody thinks Barry is his dad. I said, he's my New York father, and everybody says it. Everybody loves him. He's a special person, one of a kind.
The first piece, I learned was a church song, When I was 4 years old, I learned the piece. I played this piece. I try to remember the name of that piece sometime. I can't think of it. I think it was in B flat. That's all I can remember is it was in the key of B flat, and I was 4 years old, and I learned this piece. And, I played for the junior chorus, and I played for another lady had a chorus. I used to play for that little chorus. And then one day my mother sort of said, "Look here." She said, "What are you going to play? You going to play the church music or you going to play the jazz?" I said, "I'd like to play the jazz." She said, "Okay." So that was it. So I've been playing jazz ever since. The way we started, we'd borrow the bass from high school. We'd borrow the drums from high school. They'd borrow the alto, whoever played the alto saxophone. Then we'd go get on the streetcar and go to a gig, and play the dance. We played dances at school. We played dances at the roller rink, the Forest Club roller rink. So we had a lot of places. The Mirror Ballroom, the Greystone Ballroom. That's where you heard Bird and all of them. Mirror Ballroom, Greystone Ballroom, the Grand Ballroom. The last time I think I heard Bird was maybe at a bar at the Mirror. I don't know when we became so conscious of jazz. I really don't. I think it probably started with Boogie Woogie. We started learning tunes and learning how to play the blues and learning how to play different things. Then when I went to the west side of town, the cats over there, they couldn't chord as good as I could, but they could solo. And so I got real upset about that. I said, I can't solo. So the blind girl, Bess, you know Bess. Mm-hmm. Bess loaned me this record player. And it was a record player where you could take the little thing and you could make it any speed you wanted it. And it went down in a whole octave, and you could stop anywhere in between. I slowed him up, and I started learning those solos. And you know who it was? The first record, Web City. Can you imagine? That's why when people say you play like Bud Powell, I guess I do. That's how I started out,
when musicians heard Bud Powell, that had so much power and such a percussive attack, and it was so full of energy and vitality, but also it was explosive, as opposed to the more lambent and melodic styles of Art Tatum and Teddy Wilson and the musicians before, who they loved. I mean, you can hear a lot of Art Tatum and Barry Harris's playing, for example. But this was a new way of playing music, and consequently a new way of thinking about yourself and thinking about yourself in relationship to the society in which you lived. Bud invented the language of modern piano, and Barry mastered it and used it to create his own style.
One time Bud Powell was sort of messed up in Birdland, the last gig he had. And he started playing. And it's like he was playing on top of the keys, and I could hear him soloing. And it was, every once in a while you'd hear a little note. But you knew he was playing, and it's like he was gliding over the keys. You know, that's what you had to end up doing.
Barry was part of this amazing group of piano players that came out of Michigan at the same time. It's just one of those incredible things. I don't know how to explain it. Tommy Flanagan was there, the Jones brothers, Hank Thed and Elvin.
I've been knowing Barry so long because we were teenagers when we met. We were both interested in the same kind of music, which was the beginning of early bebop.
Tommy Flanagan was very good, real shy kind of cat. I went to his house one time, but I used to go stand. You know, when I go to see Tommy, I like to watch him. I like to see his hands. I've spent my life watching his hands, see? I spent my first part of my life I spent watching his hands, so that if he hit a chord, I'd say, and I go home and I play that chord in every key. I remember that chord. I had to remember a few chords, you know. So that's how I learned how to play.
Well, it was very it's exciting for us growing up because all these heroes that we still listen to till today, they were coming through Detroit quite often, which was just marvelous for us. Paradise Theater was about 5 blocks from the high school that I went to, so it was a regular thing after school was over to, you know, hit it right down there.
You have to remember about bebop that that's a press name. What we're really talking about is modern jazz. We're talking about a real shift in the music.
Dizzy Gillespie would use this onomatopoeic kind of scat to sing an idea to someone if he didn't have a piano handy or his horn handy. And a lot of the phraseology ended in drum figures like bebop.
But you get into the World War II, a lot of African Americans went abroad and saw that they were treated like men, and they weren't going to come back and accept the same kind of situation that they had left. And the swing era was dying.
There was a guy who had some brand new tricks, played his horn on a crazy kick. The thing that made him such a flop was he beat, or when he should have bopped. The Samuel cat jumped right up on the stand, but he couldn't seem to dig the band. He thought he was the cream of the crop, but he beat, or when he should have bopped. All cats gathered around to see what he was trying to do.
At Minton's and Monroe's Uptown House, the bandstand might be crowded at some points, and they would weed out the lesser players by playing these new chord changes, these new sequences, and it developed that kind of small group ethos.
The period was just ripe for something new to happen. And then what it really takes is some sort of genius who comes along and does things in a way that no one else has ever done it. And people of his generation hear it and they say, yes, that's what we've been waiting for. Dizzy Gillespie once said to me, we had the notes. We knew how to do all that. We understood the harmonies, but Charlie Parker told us how to get from one note to the next.
I don't want people to think that I played with Bird. You know, they say, "Oh, you played with Charlie Parker." I sat in with Charlie Parker. I can remember one time when I really sat in with him, his band didn't show up. And so we went up and played with him at the Great Stone Ballroom. We went up and played with Charlie Parker, and he was beautiful to us. That's one thing about Bird. Everybody I ever heard play with him, they sounded good. You know, all the cats. So we all sounded good with Bird. We had a lot of jazz around us. We had so many cats. And so many cats came to, like my house was like a mecca, like, you know, everybody came there. Most of the musicians. You know, I tell people, you know, I name some of the musicians that came to my house, and probably some people don't believe me, you know. Like I might say Joe Henderson used to come take lessons, you know. Now he's a famous tenor player today, you know. And Paul Chambers. But you know, a friend of mine the other day found a yearbook, a downbeat from 1958. And you know, I kept this too because I had to show it to people when they start doubting you. The major jazz influence in that city has been an excellent young pianist, Barry Harris. He feels that virtually every immigrant from Detroit in the last 5 years has been either taught or influenced by Barry. He is prominent both as a musical as well as a social force. As baritonist Pepper Adams said in Downbeat, he's just a young cat, but he's influenced more youngsters in right playing and right living. See that? You know, we had a house. I was lucky. I had a house. My mother would fix food for us, what little food we had, but she'd fix it, and we'd jam all day, you know.
Well, Detroit was a hotbed for jazz in the early 50s. It was one of those cities where Charlie Parker's impact in the 40s had an almost immediate effect, and a lot of young players came up enamored of it and wanted to play it. And around, I think, 1954, Barry went into the Bluebird Club, which became the best-known club in part because Barry was playing there. And he would accompany a lot of the players who came through.
I accompanied Prez for a week. I accompanied Flip Phillips. I accompanied Nancy Wilson for a week. You know, people like that. I accompanied quite a few. I remember those.
And he quickly earned so high a reputation that when musicians came into to Detroit, they would request him, and occasionally they would just leave their piano players at home.
I was a pianist who, I was known before I even left town. People came looking for me almost, you know. That's how I met Sonny Clark, Walter Davis. All the New York cats came looking for me, you know.
Well, a lot of guys who came in, Miles Davis and Dexter, a lot of people who came through started to use Barry. And then Cannonball came in and left with him. He took him out and brought him back to New York. I guess that was in 1960.
We were lucky. And that's why we came to New York, we came in force. And it had to be 20 of us, 30.
Musicians left Detroit for the same reason they left every other city in the country after the war, and even before then, to get to New York, because that's where the industry was, that's where the record labels were, it's where the work was, there were more clubs. And if you were good enough to be nationally known, let alone world known, as opposed to being the hero of the neighborhood, the only way anyone was going to find out is if you came to New York.
a dream so tender, you and I, our hearts combine, and through our love, and then our love enfolds, and we are. You can hear Barbara Streisand singing this. I can hear it. Shoot, I get her to sing it. Huh. I can give concerts for the rest of my life. I need, okay, so now we have to get in touch with Barbara Streisand. Oh, well, that should be easy. A dream so tender, you and our hearts combine, and then our love enfolds, and we are one. I like that. Enfolds. That is the right word, right? Enfolds. Would be. I'm gonna see. I must see. I gotta check out enfolds. Oh, it's a good word. To embrace sounds good. To cover with folds, to envelop, to contain, to clasp within the arms, embrace. Sounds good. Monk, Monk wrote so many beautiful songs. After he died, I went to play at the Angry Squire, the first gig I had after he died. And I said, I'm not going to play any tunes but Monk's tunes. And I sat there all night and played all Monk tunes and never played another soul song. So you know there's a lot of tunes that Monk wrote. And see, the thing about it, he wrote a rhythm. So you can play I Got Rhythm. He wrote a blues. So you got that. He wrote what?
Monk spent the last years of his life over in Weehawken at the Baroness's house, and did not communicate with the outside world too much, or the people in the house.
Monk laid in that bed right there, and he stayed there for quite a while, 10 years, something like that,
I think there was a period when where Monk was practicing and Barry would listen to him, and also where they would exchange choruses on the piano. But that was a little earlier on. In the last period, I don't think Monk was doing much of anything. He was in an extreme depression.
The New York Jazz Repertory Company was the first attempt at having a permanent repertory band.
He hadn't gotten up really to play. So we were having this big concert at Carnegie Hall.
One of the highlights was a concert of Thelonious Monk's music. And Monk was invited to play it, but Monk had already become a recluse and nobody anticipated him showing up. So they they asked Barry to play the
And it
piano.
was all Monk's music, Paul Jeffries. We had strings and everything and big arrangements, and I'd gone to rehearsal after rehearsal.
They wrote a series of concertos based on Monk's tunes that would feature the piano against a scrim of strings on the left side of the stage and a big band in the center and to the right.
I said to Monk, I said, "You sure you don't want to get up and play this concert, Monk?" And he said, he didn't answer.
2 minutes before the curtain went up, we're all sitting in our seats, all 11 of us, and Barry is waiting to be introduced, and Monk just came out of nowhere, walked right by him onto the stage, played 2 hours. It was unbelievable.
So one thing I can say, I got paid free. You know, but he played the gig. It was nice too. He played good too. Nika, well, she looked out for all of us, you know? She looked out for all the jazz musicians. She helped all of us. She was really the best thing to happen to us. She was our benefactress, really, whatever you want to call her.
The Baroness was a Rothschild, and she was married to this diplomat named Königswerder. Eventually, she separated from him. She came to the United States. She was a jazz lover from way back.
I didn't know this Nika. I started knowing close to this Nika.
She particularly loved pianists, and pianists who came after Bud Powell. So not only Barry, but Tommy, and Walter Davis Jr. and others. She would be at all the openings. And I met her casually the night after Charlie Parker died, not having known that Charlie Parker died in her apartment, because it didn't make the papers till Monday. But I didn't get to know her till many years later, and found her to be one of the warmest, brightest, gracious ladies.
The big concerts, it's like a religious experience. It really is. It's just, it's beautiful. I mean, the music is so lush, and the energy is so high and positive. And, you know, everybody was involved. And the kids, you got the children choir, they come up front and they sing. Whew. I mean, there's not one dry eye on the bandstand, believe me.
And so I've given about 20 concerts. And so I've got people all over. I'd say, if I had a reunion, I may have, maybe I've got about 2,000 to 3,000 singers in New York City that have been in my chorus. And then I've got maybe 3,000 children that have been in the chorus, in their children's chorus, you know? So it's been a big thing. I can remember the difference we made in the children. And this is really true, man, from these concerts, giving concerts and including children in it, just to show you what happens. One lady came and said her son stopped stuttering just because being in a concert. Can you imagine such a thing? So We start out with these rehearsals. We rehearse the last rehearsal we rehearsed at the University of the Street.
Get up there and hold that note. What happened to that note? That's the prettiest note.
I start rehearsing every week, and then towards the end I bring in the conductor. I like to bring in the conductor at the end. Towards the end, I like to deal with the people at first because I have a certain kind of spirit, and I think it's important that I give to them my kind of spirit.
Hold it please, Claveraste, miro que Bien que Clavero mesa los quiche. Scorfes. Clavero me no considero, you can't have it. Clavat que vero de I should have learned another language. I'm telling you. I really should have learned another language.
Barry's international appeal very simply has to do with the fact that he's a great player. And people who know this music know a great player when they hear one.
I might have more Japanese students in Japan than any teacher, you know. For 1 minute there, I thought the Japanese government was doing this. When 2 would leave, 3 would come. That's the way it was at Jazz Culture Theater. If 2 left, 3 would come. If 1 left, 2 would come. I always had Japanese. I had more Japanese than anybody.
Last year, he came to Japan, and I joined the Barry's workshop one day, and I decided to come here.
Barry's great. Love
What's so great about him?
I love his spirit. He's got a great spirit.
Yeah.
To be that age and still be, he's like the heart of the whole
When he
thing.
was in the hospital, when he had
This is a
his
great
stroke,
story.
yeah, it was unbelievable. I went in like the second day, I think, as soon as I heard the news, and he was lying there and he had a stroke.
She went every day.
Yeah, I went every day but 2 for 3 weeks. And it was partly, we were talking about, it was partly Barry is so busy. This is a very selfish thing to say, but it's one, I wanted to give my spirit to him to make him better. But 2,
Listen to the story
the
later.
thing about it is, and it turns out we all felt that way, it was like, the man is so busy. When he was laid up in the hospital, it's like, ooh, now we got you where we want you. So there were about 75 people who came every day to the hospital. It was so serious that they had to move him out of his room during visiting hours and put him down in the lobby so that 75
I've been very lucky. I go to lessons. I'm not prepared. She knows it. You know, she knows that I had to go out of town and I did this and I didn't practice enough and everything.
Barry came to see me in 1981, and he came and he's been seeing me every Monday at 2:30 whenever he's in town ever since.
But she makes me go through different things. Then I had a stroke, and she makes me work on the left hand and try to get it right. Get it back to where I think it's normal, which it's not. But I've fallen in love with it. You know, it's real strange. From not being able to do so much with it, I just sort of lay it down. I lay it down nicely, and it accompanies nicely. You know, it's really unbelievable.
When he came, this was just, about a month after the stroke, I think. And he was supposed to be playing at Carnegie Hall on the Jazz Festival with other jazz pianists. And I said, Barry, you can't play at the Carnegie Hall. And he said, oh, yes, I can play, and I'm going to play. They won't know the difference. And he played, and he could just put down A note, A note, A note in the left hand. That's all he could do. And the review came out, and the one person they picked out as being the hit of the evening was Barry Harris.
Just to be near him at any moment, even whether it be chauffeuring him around, the stories that he tells, and just sharing the music, I mean, it's just been a joy. It really is.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about people, life, music, everything from this man. He's such a giving and knowledgeable man.
He's fun.
He's funny. He puts the 75 Boys Choir together, and half of those people don't know how to read. So he will take them through the process, you know, in order to get the job done. And he writes arrangements, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful. And only Barry can do that. I don't know anybody else that gives as much as Barry does.
You are my inspiration. You give to me the very great sensation when I think about you. All I can do is sing. You are the summer day that dries the clouds and dancing tears away. And when I think about you, all I can do is sing. You are my joy of spring, my June and bloom, my cup of tea. Just like a gentle breeze, and soon and soon, how hard it beats. Let me tell you about you. Are the moon and sky, the look from east and then the flying high, and with the wonder of you, and with the wonder of you, and with the wonder of you, all I can do is sing.
Towards the end, I bring in the conductor.
Now is the time to be carried.
Did you hear how different that sounds? I'm not lying to you. It sounds right. The other way sounds wrong.
Oh, he's so beautiful, man. I can't even tell you about what he can do with this. The first time was unbelievable.
Two.
Now is the time to be carried. So caution to the wind.
That's a lot of sound.
You know, you do some music and, you know, you think you know what it's about. It's nothing until the conductor comes in there and shows you this is what it's about, really. And he made my music so beautiful, all I could do is stand there and cry. You know, I never even imagined that the music could sound that beautiful. That night was the worst thunderstorm we ever had in New York City. I had never seen anything like that. I didn't expect any people. I didn't even expect anybody, but the place was packed.
Excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's the performance we all worked for so hard. And it's Barry's pieces, so I can't wait.
Tell me what you think about Barry.
I think he's great. He's a great inspiration, and he has given me a lot, and he has given the world a lot, and I'm just really excited to see the work.
I haven't dressed yet.
A rare and exciting, I call him the keeper of Bebop because he's one of the last of the guys. So someone asked me recently, said, well, Barry Harris, who is he? I said, he's the keeper of Bebop because there's not a lot of those guys left.
What do you think?
I adore Barry. Barry, and he's just in his prime. He's in his peak, creatively, musically, emotionally, spiritually, and I can't wait to get out there. Right?
Yes. I'm very excited. Okay, so should be longer.
He's just a genius and a great, bright, wonderful spirit. And when he's, you know, it's wonderful. You know, when you see this, you're going to dig it. That's how cool it is from out there, much less right here. He's a great teacher, and all of us owe him a great deal, you know. He's given us a great spirit and taught us a lot about the music and about what it means to be an artist.
Right, that belly is getting bigger and bigger.
When it gets to my size, then you worry.
I'll never forget, I come up with this opening, and one girl said, "Oh, you know, Joe, you know what words we could say? We'd like to welcome you here." So that's how that started, you know. We had little kids from the neighborhood. We had some little kids come from Brooklyn. They learned their parts. We had a school in Brooklyn. We had a school in the Bronx. We had a school in Manhattan. I wish all New Yorkers could see one of my concerts, just to see these little kids and make you real proud of little children. And all we got to do is do the right thing by the little children, and the little children will end up all right.
Of the way we met.
It was so accidental.
Did it?
It was strictly instrumental. Since we met, it's getting hard to keep from you. The way that I feel about you. Never thought I'd be so sentimental. Now you know. So I hope that you can understand. I'm on this open wide for you. Yes, it's true.
Just Friends was the one record that Charlie Parker made that had a really, it was almost a hit. It was played on the radio. It was as close to a hit as he ever had. Parker's totally inspired. He just lifts off the tune like a rocket straight into space, and he sustains this burst of inspiration for the 3 or 4 minutes of the record.
Like going to this forest club to hear Bird with Strings, and when the strings start playing and Bird starts playing, and to feel this chill that starts in your feet, and it goes all through your body, and it just, I can't. The only way I can describe, probably you have to say it was like orgasmic. It's everything. Everything that you can imagine, the most beautiful feeling in the world that you can imagine. The idea is to make somebody feel this feeling that I felt. And that is the secret to the whole thing.
Hey, and then you say la 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 la. La 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 hey la 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 Thank you for that rousing round of applause.